How the worst champ in the game became secretly OP? Alright. I'll give it 2 minutes before I quit this video, based on title.
So it turns out that HWEI isn't very good. Ever since his release, he has struggled to win games. Across nearly every ELO, he has the lowest win rate in the game. Bronze and silver games,
Champ is bad.
42%. Emerald Plus, 41%.
True.
Surely you would think it would get better at Master Plus, right?
No, it wouldn't.
Well, no. Still 41%. No matter which ELO bracket you're discussing, players have not been able to win games on this champ. But is that completely true?
Yes.
Well, today, I made it a personal goal to find out. I have studied the pro players who have been successful on him. I have learned from the one tricks, watching their replays, guys who have put in a bunch of games on PBE and have over 300 games of experience on the champion, and I myself put in 50 games of ranked on my main. And it turns out, if you can pilot the champion,
Oh, that's me.
if you know how to play him, and you can input the buttons correctly, not only is he one of the best champions in the game, and is currently, as he stands, one of the most
Hey,
OP
I'm on
champions,
camera.
but he's also insanely fun, and probably my new main.
Adopt it. He's not that fun. He's pretty fun, but the fact that he has lack of carry potential, solo carry potential, he's just too team reliant, just ruins the champion for me. There's too many utility spells.
So really quickly, videos like these just would not be possible without sponsorships, which is why I'm excited that this video edited
Great Shadow Legends, let's go, baby.
It is undeniable at this point that this champion is not winning as many games as other champs. But why? We've seen this happen with new champions before. They can come out insanely weak, take a little bit of skill to learn and practice, get overbuffed to compensate for the fact that players suck at the kit, and then be really OP once players get the hang of it. A prime example of this happening in the past was with Gwen. It took basically a month for players to realize what her best builds and play patterns were, such as foregoing Flash entirely.
Okay.
Once we saw improvement in the gameplay from the Gwen players, she was clearly OP, but that was largely because players needed time to adjust and Riot overbuffed the champion.
I mean, that's true. That happens often, right? Like, obviously, when a new character is released, no one will know how to play it to the pretty high proficiency. That's just nature of the game. This is why also Riot has this philosophy of, hey, we're gonna ship the character OP because it takes players long to figure out how to play them anyway. Plus, on top of that, if the character is successful, then it's good for us, since it's good for the marketing. You know? Stuff like this.
With HWEI, it makes sense. He has 10 abilities, which is an entirely new skill floor to overcome. On top of that, he's a low mobility backline carry with a ton of skill shots, and typically, at least for solo queue, we're seeing higher win rates for champions with more mobility and can usually build tank.
That's me again, baby.
As if you can build tank, the champion will be more forgiving for your mistakes. Anyway, one thing about this champion is absolutely true. He is very fun to play and quite challenging to learn.
Bay
I think
Susie.
Belter said it
That's
best
Korea.
on his stream the other day, where he was talking about HWEI, and he said that it showed him just how much he spams his abilities as a League player. And I really couldn't have said it better myself. You have to be so careful not to get yourself screwed over.
That is true. One of the biggest issues when it comes to playing HWEI at the beginning is that you would misclick spells often because he has really unique spell pattern when you do QQ, QW, QE, whatever. So you would often misclick because League players are so used to spamming buttons. You play Nunu, you're just spamming Q on the button because the Q is always going to be the same, but here you can't because you have to choose between different Qs. So it kind of like, it takes you a couple of games but to get unused to it, but you definitely need to be careful. And even then, like I played over 50 HWEI games, and there's definitely games where I still misclick my ability, which is very annoying. But I also think he has bugs. Like, oftentimes, I'm 100% convinced I do not press something and HWEI does something I don't want to do. So I think he is also bugged. Hello, play?
Over on being on the wrong ability with this guy. The amount of times in my first couple of games that I wanted to do a specific combo that would have either saved me or gotten me a kill, and I ended up inputting incorrectly, is frustrating to say the least. But that is what the champion is all about and is truly the real learning curve. Take a look at this combo. One of your best all-in or one-shot combos is WE, EQ, QQ, R, QW. Did you get that? You buff yourself with the WE, the fear on the EQ helps to land the ultimate, and if the QQ isn't enough, if it's a slightly tankier target, you can then wait for them to run.
This is actually wrong combo, I think, in many cases. Because the reason why is EQ as a CC is very short, which gives people usually, like before the R lands, they can flash it or dash out of it. In most cases, this is actually the wrong combo. In most cases, you have to do the R after EQ.
Run away and get low and snipe them with the QW.
Sadly, the CC on this ability is just way too low.
Mess this kind of stuff up. In the heat of a very intense fight, you'll either end up throwing out the wrong ability entirely, losing track of what spells and cooldowns you
I've heard Showmaker is the only LCK pro right now that plays HWEI, but not to a great success.
actually had available, and at the end of the day, it's a skill shot based champion, and let me tell you, missing skill shots is always in the cards, especially the ult. His ultimate has a very unforgiving hitbox and is a slower projectile than you might think. Even
That is true.
experienced HWEI players have been whiffing it. This is
Yep,
why in
that
the
is true.
previously stated combo, we talked about why it's so good to land your CC first to help guarantee the ultimate, and again, this is part of the learning curve.
His ult is really bad,
Fantastic, albeit slightly more
hitbox wise
situational
and
combo
speed
is
wise
to throw down
compared
the
to
QW, which
average
is the
champion in
eyeball
league.
that creates a zone and seeks out an enemy for a root, and if you trust that the root will land and you get down the timing, you can combo this very nicely with your QW lightning strike. You
That
need
is
to
true.
actively play around your passive on this champion and use whatever combos you can to proc it. Your passive will proc when you hit an enemy with 2 spells. You'll also see a lot of high-level HWEI players press QQ and EE, or at least combo it in some sort of way like that. You can
Yeah.
EE and then QQ, and that's a great way to proc your passive.
That is
Something I
true.
also didn't realize until a couple of games of playing him is that the bubbles you buff yourself with count as a spell. So you
They
can
do.
auto-attack.
So passive procs them, auto attack procs them. Like a lot of things proc this bubbles actually.
get
It's
your
pretty
passive.
like it's very synergistic.
QE auto attack and QQ will also proc your passive. A lot of players have noted several times that 2 of his abilities on W are rather weak, the shield and the speed up, WW and WQ. And while it's true that they're more situational than WE, which you'll be spamming basically throughout the entire game and you need to learn how to use it properly, they are definitely not completely useless. In this example, my WW shield came in very clutch as I was able to save my graves with the shield. And with the WQ, while the movement speed is a little bit underwhelming and is definitely not a little Sivir ult for you to speed up your team in any way, I think the best way to use it is to escape extremely dangerous situations. If you combo your EQ fear and then able to WQ backwards, you can run and get away.
I don't even think WQ saved him in this specific situation, but he's right. Like, yeah, it is very situational spell. Same goes for WW. You can also auto, while the auto flies, you can WE. Yes, that is one good thing about HWEI. You can use WE when your projectiles are flying in the air, and then you can kind of like have a feeling if it hits, and if you're fast at keyboard, you can then WE yourself, and it's going to proc.
HWEI is all about being a long-range backline DPS and artillery mage, especially in the late game. He has safe, although rather passive laning with his solid wave clear, good mana sustain with the WE, legitimately great crowd control even if it's a bit hard to land, and god tier range. In the late game, he can nuke you from multiple screens away, and you literally can't even see the champ while it's happening to you. Lightning strike after lightning strike rains down on your team. He can kill everybody, and you don't even get to play against him. When this kind of stuff is happening, it makes the champion look insanely broken.
Chovy?
This is by far the most unfair BS they've ever put into the game. If HWEI gets to this point in the late game, it makes you question the entire competence of the Riot Games company.
Wait, I kind of don't agree with this. Like, from my experience, the champ is really bad late game. He's nothing compared to Syndra or Orianna. Like, nothing. He's just like a very average late game. So I don't really agree with this.
Did they actually make this champ? Surely this is not fair. And then you play him against champions with good CC and a lot of dive, and this happens. For everything this champion excels at, Backline damage, turbo bursting, ungodly range. He really showed
Again, and agree. Right, what is he saying? Let's see again.
that. Backline damage,
Backline damage. Sure, I mean, okay.
turbo bursting,
Turbo bursting? Syndra has way more burst than this champ.
ungodly range.
Ungodly range, definitely disagree with that one. I think his ranges are pretty bad in general. Most champions outrange HWEI, like mid-lane counterparts. The fact that he has cast times on abilities make him stop, which makes enemies easier to catch you. He has no mobility. Like range, like I feel like the EW buff range was very nice, and Q, obviously QW has good range, but like that ability is not really landable without CC, so
He really shows you why mobility is also king in this game. If the enemy so much as look at you in melee range, unless you can hit your skill shot fear and run away, you are so
Showmaker.
screwed. You
Yeah,
can
look, this is
really hit
HWEI.
skill shot
This is
fear
HWEI
and
in a
run away.
nutshell. Look, ungodly range, right? Like, look, this is HWEI in a nutshell. There's a Gragas coming out of Fog of War.
Way, you are so
He gets stunned by Syndra, which is like almost impossible to dodge at this point. And then he's just dead, right?
Really good on HWEI.
Or has
Know
to flash
all
or
the
that.
combos, practice him all the time.
Like, this is the champion, bro. He doesn't have flash, he will just die. It's so sad. If you're looking at win rate stats as the game goes on, it's a massive spike later on. Really? I don't know. All I can say is from my experience, because I've like the funny thing about HWEI is that games often went to late game when I played him because champ is excellent at wave clearing. I had games where I was 40 minutes plus with Gathering Storm and I felt so useless.
I'm in the practice tool, but if you get the littlest bit behind against
It was
Xerath,
nothing
so
compared to
far is,
Syndra.
have fun. A lot of the time, this champion just feels like the Xerath rework. He has all of the same strengths, most of the same gameplay pattern, and pretty much all the same downsides and flaws.
I compare him a bit different. I compare him like he's a mix of Syndra and Xerath, but he's more on the Xerath side because of how weak he is. Which means that the champion wants to be Syndra, but he can't be, so he has to be Xerath instead, and that's what makes him weak.
Just like games where you've seen Xerath completely carry in 1v9 over the years, HWEI will probably be able to do the same in that type of game state. He can 1v9 destroy your team from many screens away if you can perfectly play backline and you have enough tanks in front of you to block skill shots. But if you're getting dove all game, you can't play.
Not sure if I agree with that. I feel like when Xerath snowballs, he's way stronger than Impressive than HWEI is. But obviously it is true that both of them need teammates to play around you.
He's basically Xerath, but about 30 times as complicated. If Xerath was released in 2023, this is what his kit would do. It's a modern artillery mage made for the modern game. And that's
See, I don't think so. He's not as artillery. Like, the only artillery spell is really QW. I don't consider his QQ, QE, or any of the E spells as much artillery as Xerath is. Like, I don't see how.
generally pretty cool and fine because high skill cap champions are good for the game. It is great that players can invest time into learning HWEI and understanding such a complex and nuanced kit.
Xerath is way more
But that will
artillery
come
than
at a
HWEI
price,
is, for
and
sure.
That price is the win rate. His damage late game is a touch overtuned, and while I understand that's
I disagree. I don't think it's overtuned. Also, like,
all he
I think his win rate is not going to be 40% forever. Riot just has to buff him. Like, there is room to buff him. Like, he maybe 2, 3, 4 years from now, and maybe he's going to be under 50% win rate. That is possible. However, I do not think he's going to be he's not going to be below like 47, 48. Someone in chat says it's 48% right now. No, it's not. How? What rank are we talking about? Master Plus? HWEI's win rate in Master Plus is like 43 or 42 or whatever the fuck this math comes up to. This is 43 or 42 or whatever. Right now. Last 7 days? Look, I'm checking. Look. This is last 4 days. Right here you have win rates. 48, 47, 48, 48, right? But the average Master Plus win rate is 54.47. Where it says 13.12, click on it. This. Last 7. Look. 47.5, average win rate 54. Do you understand? The win rate of HWEI is like 42 right now, 43, somewhere between there. Up there, if you click on the patch thing, it says otherwise. You mean this? No, you don't understand. LoL Analytics shows you the average master win rate is higher than 50% because the players in Master often play against players in Diamond, okay? That's why. LoL Analytics counts games that are played from Master versus Diamonds. UGG does not. That's why UGG always has 50% average win rate and LoL Analytics does not. Okay? That's why LoL Analytics has more games, but the data is more skewed. Because Master players will obviously win more against Diamond players because they're better. So you're wrong. HWEI's win rate is 42 to 43 right now. It has been here for the past 10 days at least, okay? Which means the champion's win rate is not going up as much as it used to be, okay? Which means the champion is bad. I mean, okay. It's bad for many reasons, but win rate also supports the argument that the champion is bad. Champion is just bad. It's been out for a long time now. So he should just be buffed. Like, there's no argument. The one-trick MMR filter shows HWEI has a decent win rate amongst players that main him. Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that. The champion will all be, like, every champion in League of Legends will be better by one-tricks. But at the same time, didn't Riot say that, like, one-tricks don't inflate the win rate at all anymore? Only Katarina players do? Or some shit? People are still learning him? It doesn't matter. My point is his win rate will not go up any higher. It's already stagnating at this point. It's barely going up anymore. You understand? He should just be buffed. The Frax, thanks for the sub.
He does, and he has no mobility.
One trick show that it's possible to do good with it. No, they do not. You can make the argument for every champion in League of Legends. Like, think about it. You can literally make that argument for every champion in League of Legends. Oh, don't buff that champion. One trick can show that you can be good at it.
The late game, in my opinion, does not currently have enough counterplay to warrant how strong he is.
August said 2 days ago on Shim, they're aiming for WQ, mini rework, and late game scaling, but he disabled clips. See? I mean, I trust you. And I kinda like that. Kinda like that.
That being said, he suffers from the exact same issues inside of solo queue that a champion like Azir, Corki, or Xerath have always struggled with, even when they've been picked inside of pro play. Agency. This champ, even when you're an expert on him, does not have the type of kit.
Nemesis knows the next patch is 14.1, right? Well, why are you buffing HWEI same patch as introducing bunch of mage items? Because... Okay. I get triggered. Okay. So, mage items will get reworked. It is true. But every champion gets affected by this. Not just HWEI. Do you understand? So if mages become OP, it is much easier to just fucking nerf the item instead of nerfing the champion. Do you understand? If mages become OP, it's because of items, not because of champion. So buffing HWEI is fine, because if HWEI is magically overtuned, it's not going to be because of buffs, it's going to be because of items, and then so will all the other champions. I don't know why, like, some people just pretend, oh, Only HWEI will benefit from new mage items. No. Why wouldn't Syndra benefit? If items are better, why wouldn't Syndra be better? Why would only HWEI be better? It makes no sense.
Has historically dominated solo queue games. Generally speaking, scaling and poke, which is what he does best, is not really how we've won ranked games over the years, especially when he's super skillful. I can think of a lot of other archetypes that almost always can contribute to winning far more games in the chaos of uncoordinated solo queue. Hook supports like Blitzcrank, bruisers like Riven and Jax, the entirety of the jungle role just because you can gank and you have objective control, and of course, Draven. These types of champions have the most agency precisely because of how bad solo queue is. It is really hard to play 1-3-1 in the lanes and play these traditionally pro-focused poke compositions without proper communication. We still don't have voice chat. But knowing how pro play works, I wouldn't be surprised at all if HWEI ends up doing quite well. Even if he has a bad solo queue win rate, this just sounds like a Zir all over again. So is this champion just destined for pro play jail? Well, maybe.
I think long term and eventually this champion is probably destined for pro play jail. Most likely. It is probably true. However, we're not even close to that point right now.
But it's still a little early to tell. One strength of this champion that we haven't gone over yet is that there's a real possibility for him to be a multi-role flex pick. Mid is the role that everybody predominantly plays him in, but Lehens, Beryl, and a few other Korean supports have already been successful playing him in the support role.
That is true, however, HWEI support's not good.
On top of that, his best role
It's not good.
may actually be APC bot lane akin to Ziggs or Karthus. At the time of recording this video, the highest win
He has higher chance
in
of
North
being
American
better on
Hero is
APC
playing him in the bot lane role.
than
Support
support. Support will not work for HWEI.
Ziggs, and it's set up nicely for you to land your skill shots because hitting your whole combo is a hell of a lot easier on a target that isn't allowed to move. Thanks, Nautilus. And to be fair, there's still so much that we don't know about this champion in terms of build. Not just because he's brand new to the game, but also the new season that's coming up will completely change items entirely and brings tons of new stuff into the game, so maybe he'll be a lot better in the new season, at least in terms of win rate. Now with the new season coming up, I don't want to get into builds too much here because obviously so much of that is subject to change, but I can still go over runes and keystones which shouldn't change too much with this new season. I have seen this champion.
Yeah, Riot hasn't really talked about anything for the new season in terms of runes, and did they? I don't remember. Did they? No, they did. There's a new inspiration rune which gives you a potion, and they're thinking of removing Demolish, I think. I don't know. I wish Riot would do something with runes, I'm gonna be honest.
Champions successfully win with nearly every viable keystone that you could imagine, so let's go over what makes each one of them actually good and what you should be building. The most common setup that we're seeing is with Arcane Comet, and it's basically what everybody has begun defaulting to.
Yeah, I mean, Comet is the only viable option on this champion, sadly. He would be a first strike champion if first strike wasn't nerfed giga hard like it is now. First strike would be good on him if that wasn't the case, but Riot has over nerfed first strike, so Comet is realistically the only solution for this champion.
I do think it's good, and I think it clearly has its merit. There's a reason why it's being built so much. But just because Comet is the most standard and is what a lot of people are now defaulting to, does not necessarily mean that's the only viable page. Electrocute is disgustingly good during the early game, and HWEI specifically synergizes very well with Cheap Shot. Electrocute procs very easily due to your passive, so combining that with the Cheap Shot damage, early solo kills are absolutely in the cards, and you can look to play quite aggressive. If you're looking for the best scaling build, First Strike is good, especially if they have a bunch of melee champions and tanks where you're going to be proccing it a lot. Now the only problem with this keystone is that it's very low agency in the early game, it's extremely weak, and is basically playing for full scaling. If the game is over before 20 minutes and you're not able to have impact...
The triple tonic skill point gives 5 splinters to Syndra, by the way. Do you think it's better than 3 boots? Probably yes. Unironically, I think probably yes. 5 splinters for free on Syndra is massive, I think. I think it's massive.
That's also why the keystone isn't necessarily that good, and a lot of people are defaulting to other stuff. The best page for snowballing, if you can get stacks, is Dark Harvest, just like a Karthus or a Brand. Man, this can become disgusting if you have 20 or more stacks. I've seen my Dark Harvest alone do over 4,000 damage sometimes, and this has been the preferred build for a lot of HWEI bot lane players where there are 2 people to stack Dark Harvest on. And other keystones can be situationally good. I've seen the champion win with nearly everything, from Phase Rush to Summon Airy to even Unsealed Spellbook. It all just depends on the game state, the situation, and whatever the comps call for. So make sure you
I think the variety of keystones that HWEI has is really weak.
Don't fall into the cookie cutter pattern of just building the same thing every game. You can actually branch out and try your own things. To conclude this video, I will wrap up my thoughts into a couple of key points. First of all, HWEI is objectively overpowered. If you've seen anybody who is playing this champion at a high level, who has put in the time, and if you're seeing
Objectively overpowered? Question mark? What? Like, what?
the way that he's popping off in high elo games, yeah, he's really, really strong. Now,
This champ's not popping off in high elo games. Like, what?
To what degree is the true question here? Is he the best champ in the entire game? I don't think so. I don't think that he is. His late game damage is absurd, and I think that he snowballs very hard. I think EE as an ability lacks a little bit of counterplay and could maybe use some slight adjusting from Riot. And as much as I love the champ, I'm going to continue playing him. I really enjoy him. He's made League so much more fun for me to be able to play this new champion, main him, and practice him for this video. I gotta admit the visual clutter is pretty bad. It's not a lot of fun to play against HWEI because getting spammed with this rumble ulti, the sound effect is annoying, it's constantly on your screen, it's distracting. Yeah, honestly, it's not that interesting to play against, and it does feel frustrating. Yes, it's true that his win rate is bad, but it's for 2 major reasons, at least in my book. Number 1 is, of course, skill issue. The reason that his win rate sucks is because people are really, really, really bad at him, and that's okay. It's going to take some time. The second reason is the archetype, as I said. The long-range, immobile, scaling poke mage isn't usually conducive to winning solo queue games and dominating the FF15 culture that we have the way that Talon, Pyke, or Rengar may do. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to...
Yeah, we have some different opinions here. For me, I don't feel like his late game is good. I think the champ is pretty bad. She should just be buffed. Yeah.